Rooted. Season 2, Episode 3 with the homie Brandon Crowson. Y'all know,
Yeah.
man, late start, technical difficulties, man, but at the end of the day, we're going to get to some powerful shit, man. So thank you for rocking with me. So, anyway, before I started, I'm going to make it quick now. I have to tell my Shock G story. Um, you know, Mass Street, 5150, Lawrence, Kansas. We was doing our thing 2002. I'm at home chilling. I get a call from my man Will the Weirdo, and he says, "Hey man, Shock G's coming to the studio." And I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here, Lawrence, Kansas. Like, why is he coming here? Right? Who cares? He came." So I come in, we're doing the track with the dude. Somebody brought him in for a feature. He was performing in Kansas City and they worked it out the night before, so he's here. Cool. So now let me also tell you, this is 2002. I'm the biggest Tupac fan ever. And I always told myself if I ever met somebody that knew Tupac, I was going to ask them if he was still alive and just try to gauge their reaction and see if my if my ESP mind reading skills are on intact, right? So Amit Shock working on the music. He's sitting right next to me, dressed like a normal person. He has jeans on with Tupac airbrushed on the pants. So I just kind of tap him. I said, "Hey man, uh, is Tupac alive?" Right? Just out of nowhere. And he looks at me with the coldest, most serious face, and he just says, "Yes, in spirit." I said, "Holy shit!" Like when he said yes, I was like, hold on, I just got the answer. Did I just get the answer?" And then he said, "In spirit." Right? And I was like, "Holy shit!" I couldn't read him because he threw me off. Right? So I didn't even get a chance to read him. So if you know Lawrence, you know downtown Mass is this, cosmopolitan area, right? So while we're mixing the record, the song's done. He goes downstairs to a secondhand clothing store, gets this big ass hat. If you look on my Facebook, you'll see it. He gets this big ass hat, gets a plaid blazer, and comes back upstairs. And now he's in character as Humpty. When you talk to him, he will only talk to you like Humpty. And Humpty decided to get on the song too. So not only did I get to work with Shock G, I got to work with Humpty too, man. One of the greatest days of my life in this music thing. Big Digital Underground fan. Thank you for your contribution, bro. Much love. So after we had to get all of that out, hold on. All right, so now I'm here with the homie Brandon Crowson, man. I've actually never met bro. I started following him on social media after he did uh, a video for my man the American. So which was, American's an interesting guy, man. It was, it was fun to work on that project. um and then as you can see, Brandon has on The World Has No Idea, which is a documentary on a dope ass MC named Idea, from Minnesota. He's Rhyme Sayers, right?
Yeah. Yep. He was. Yeah.
All right. See, I worked with Musab, man. I got a couple Musab tracks. You know what I'm saying? So that's my Rhyme Sayers connection right there.
Nice. Musa's a talented dude.
Yeah, no doubt. That same studio where we had Shock G, we had Musab down there, you know. So professionally, this really isn't about your profession, right? And who you are as a professional person. It's more about, your mindset, cuz I watched you. You're on your second movie. Um and you're really out here moving and shaking and doing things that most people don't do, particularly most young black people. You know what I mean? So tell me who Brandon Crowson is professionally.
Uh, I'm like you said, I'm on my second feature film, so I'm a filmmaker. I write, direct, produce, edit, do special effects. I do that on a freelance basis as well. I've basically been doing freelance video production for the past like 10 years now or so,
Hmm.
and my whole mo in life basically is to knock out 10 movies and then retire and live off the royalties. That's basically my whole plan. So
That's dope. You got them all mapped out?
what's that? Oh no, no. I kind of because there's so much resources that go into movies. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I kind of have a stack of scripts. Like I've been writing for fun since I was like 6.
Okay.
So it all came out like me getting into filmmaking really just was a result of me figuring out like, well, I got to do something that makes money that I actually really like to do, or I'm going to be pissed all the time. And
Yeah.
I really love storytelling because I write for fun. Like no one's telling me to do it, no one's paying me to do it. I'm just writing a story because I'll have a story in my head. So maybe I
Yeah.
should go to school for that. So I went to school for screenwriting, and while I was there, you know, I pretty quickly realized that unless you come from a certain amount of money and have certain connections, no one's buying your screenplays or trying to fund it like that, especially like Minnesota of all places. Are you serious?
Yeah.
So while I was there, I took it upon myself to learn a lot about the different aspects of production and how to do my own special effects and stuff like that. They weren't teaching that at my school. So I literally would teach myself a different visual effects trick through online tutorials and stuff like that on YouTube. And I did that while I was in college, like the whole way through, and then even after the fact. And yeah, just kind of winged it from there. And then after college, I just jumped feet first into doing freelance video production.
Hmm.
Around 2014 was like when I transitioned from doing that part time to full time,
Okay.
and yeah, it's been working out.
Awesome, man. It's a very, like you said, it's hectic. I'm in the music business, man, and I can only imagine, because you need these huge budgets, and I mean, you don't need them, but it just depends on you. You know, you're limited. You get handcuffs put on you if you don't have them, right? And that kind of stifles your creativity. Okay, so let's get into the questions. Who is Brandon Crowson, the person?
uh, Damn, I don't know, man. I'm a storyteller.
Okay.
It's kind of like the first thing that comes to mind. I like to tell stories. It's pretty much that simple. If I gotta like summarize it in a brief sentence, I'm just a person that likes to tell stories.
Dope. How do you define success?
Uh, Man, I don't know. It's kind of something I feel in my gut. You know what I mean? Like when I like I can have a really good. I've had a lot of really good day jobs for different companies over the course of my life doing different
Okay.
things, and like, but because they paid well, because there was a retirement plan, because there was benefits, because I could literally walk down the hallway from my office and get a massage, and that was like just one of the perks of the job.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, I had yeah that shit, but it was with a bunch of uptight people that I couldn't fuck with like long term. So I wasn't there super long because it was like, man, I'm gonna come in here and cuss these people out one of these days over something small. I already
Yeah.
know. But, so to me, it's about just feeling like you're free to be yourself, I guess.
Okay.
And as a person of color living in America, man, that's kind of the hardest part. Like, so uh yeah, okay. So one of the reasons why I chose like art specifically, like storytelling specifically, was because are you familiar with the term passing in relation to Black history and
Yes,
mixed
sir.
people?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so if you look at like the definition of professionalism, I started noticing as I started getting into more and more rooms where there's a lot of suits and ties and people with budgets making decisions, uh, that the definition of professionalism was a lot like passing. Hey man, take the bass out of your voice, don't speak in slang. I don't literally have to stay out of the sun in order to exist in those spaces, but I definitely have to do my best suburban white boy impression. And I fucking hate that shit. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
Go. And my mom was my mom was a character. So she was a big black bull dyke. I say bull dyke because she had a shirt that said bull dyke because lesbian is too soft of a word. She did construction and hustled, and I've seen her beat up dudes twice her size, like more than once in my life. Like we
Yeah.
call her the legend of my family because everybody else got pretty wild stories, but she was the only one that can be like, yeah, one night I put 8 cops in the hospital. I had to go too. That's not the point. That's how my mom was.
Yeah.
So, so for me, one of the things I really admired about her, because she was a black gay woman who grew up in the desegregation era. Like she was literally amongst the first kids in Minneapolis to go to a desegregated school.
Oh wow.
When she got married in the 1990s, it was not at all legal or recognized by the state. It was a big fucking thing here that happened locally, and um, it was she always insisted on being herself and doing things on her own terms, regardless of uh, what anyone was trying to tell her she could and could not do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I I had a very different experience in life just because I'm light skinned and a straight male. Frankly, like
Hmm.
I noticed how many doors opened for me that wouldn't for her because of those facts.
Wow.
But I always was aware acutely of that and of how the world will try to force you into fitting in this little box. And if you're not yourself, if you don't really like own that, if you don't really listen to what your gut is telling you more than what someone who wants to pay you a decent wage is telling you, you're not going to be happy or fulfilled in the long term. You know what I mean? You're going to be miserable. It's going to impact every single thing that you do beyond that. So,
Okay,
yeah.
now has that changed? Has that changed over time? I mean, when you're in college, or in high school or a child. I mean, how has that definition changed over time?
The definition of success.
Yes, sir.
Oh God, man. All right, check it out. So when I first went to college, uh, man, all right, fuck it. Me and my girlfriend at the time had pulled off this menage with this model chick that I knew, and I was
Okay.
like broke, nothing going for me, and was like, wow, good for me. It's not a big deal. It wasn't like my only time in my life that happened, but like my bed is this big contraption with a mirror over the top of it and stuff. So
Okay.
I wake up one morning, and this is like before college. This is like explaining the journey of how my definition of success has changed. So
Okay.
I woke up and I'm in bed with my girl, this cute model. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm having this moment of like, behold, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I get up and I start the day. And at the time, I don't have a job. I got a couple hustles going, but they're not, doing enough at the moment. And I had to go do some day labor to pay the bills. And at the time, it was I was helping to build the floor that they put over the Metrodome when the monster trucks come into town, basically.
Okay.
And I'm working for like $7 an hour alongside like hypes and illegal immigrants and shit. And I had this moment where I was like, Dom, when you woke up this morning, you know,
Yeah.
this is how you're making your money. This is what you're doing. You're like, your back hurts. You know what I mean? Look at the people around you. What are you doing? How ass backwards are your priorities? Like, you spend so much time partying and trying to like charm beautiful women into bed, and apparently you're good at that. Congratulations. But like, what the fuck are we doing here right now? And I couldn't just leave because I had rent to pay. You know what I'm saying? And bitches to buy alcohol for and stupid shit
Yeah.
like that. It was dumb. So when I finished that day, I went, collect my little pay for the day, and on my way home, I stopped by MCTC. I picked up an application for college. So in that moment, my definition of success stopped, or not in that moment, but in that day, my definition of success stopped being be someone who gets laid a lot, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and became like, well, what am I actually doing with my life? I want to be proud of how I make my living now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was about, I was like 26, 27 the day that happened. And that was like a big moment. It was like, I had these like really distinct like moments where like, and then I had an epiphany and the universe was like, you're fucking this up. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, let me adjust my strategy. So
Yeah.
from then it was wanting to be able to like what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And, I went to college. I started learning how to become a screenwriter and learning different stuff about video production, visual effects, shit like that. And in my day job while I was in college, like my day jobs before that was usually revolving around manual labor somehow. And I was changing that. I was finding myself in a lot more like managerial positions, stuff like that,
Okay.
supervising our staffs, that kind of thing. But it was always for companies that like, I'm not going to work at the Mall of America my whole life. Are you fucking kidding me? There's no way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they have really great health benefits, but at the end of the day, I know that they're just kind of underpaying people, and it's just a big company, a big right wing company
Yeah.
that's there to get money from families. So I don't like it or want to be there or enjoy what I'm doing. I want to tell stories that impact people and like get people to think about shit in certain ways. Uh, and I can't imagine a world in where I'm doing anything that would fulfill me that isn't me doing that. Like, I just can't literally wrap my mind around it. I would always find some way to tell stories for fun in my spare time, even if like, you know, I had to spend all of my time doing something else.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I went into college with a mindset of like, well, I'm going to become a filmmaker. And then I set a goal in my head of, I want to make six figures a year. here's how cocky I was. I want to make six figures a year by 30, and I want to do it through film.
Mm.
That was the goal. That
Okay.
was like the number that I set in my head. I did not meet that goal at all. I was
Yeah.
fucking devastated about it too, because I was so, I was so before, the goals I set for myself were so, they were small, they were petty. Hey, seduce this girl, go visit this place and travel and whatever, whatever. It was stupid, irrelevant bullshit. But like making a career in the arts that literally, legitimately, legally generates 6 figures a year, that's some big shit that you spend like your whole life doing. Not like, oh yeah, I can knock that out in like 5 or 6 years. It's not a big
Yeah.
deal. Man, I was cocky as fuck.
Yeah.
Nope, didn't happen.
Yeah.
Fucking uh but at 30, I I don't know, some shit happened. I kind of had to rearrange my life, and I realized that, because like that goal, the goal was 6 figures by 37 by 40, and I realized that wasn't, one that hadn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to readjust like what I was doing. Did I like film? Did I want to keep going? Was I not? Whatever, whatever. And I kind of doubled down and changed the goal to just being, okay, knock out. Well, first of all, yeah, knock out 10 movies, retire, live off the royalties. If they don't make a fuck ton of money, but I have my distribution game on point, they'll make enough if there's 10 of them,
Yeah.
for me to not really have to think about cash. And that's the idea. It's not about getting rich. It's not about a dollar amount. My problem before was my goal was a number, as opposed to not having to think a lot about money and just think about telling stories. That's kind of what I want it to be about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Great answer, man. Cause that happens to us, you know what I'm saying? Like, 18 years old, you think you can just take over the world, anything's possible, I mean, you're in college and you wake up with the model and your girlfriend, you know what I mean? Who's gonna tell you that you're not the shit? You know what I'm saying? But life has a way of humbling us, and there's some of us, like you said, you came to a point where you had to reassess, right? And your solution was to double down. See, most people's solution is to retreat, to give
Yeah.
in, to go chase the 9 to 5 and do what everybody else wants them to do. That's something I found the hardest about being, in the music business. And it's just like people have this, they look down on you, or they say, well, are you going to get your life together? When are you going to stop? So it's like the easy thing to do is to just conform. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So
Yep.
that's powerful, man, that you had the awareness, at that moment to one, reassess and not just keep going in a circle and banging your head. It's like in basketball, they say read and react. You read and you reacted. So that's dope, man. Um, so what drives you?
Uh, Stubbornness.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, sheer stubbornness. And uh yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, a lot of times, I mean, for with my specific films, there's usually like some kind of personal attachment to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, man, here's a good answer. Obviously, you're familiar with Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know this, but the environmental movement as it exists today did not exist prior to the 1970s. Uh, and the reason that is because the generation of kids who first read the Lorax grew up, amongst
Mm-hmm.
other books like Dr. Seuss. But specifically, you can look at, here's the Lorax, and here's when everyone cared about saving the forest. Like, because
Yeah.
these kids grew up. And not that I want to make just kids film and stuff, but I think about that kind of thing a lot. I think about social commentary. I think about, uh, are you familiar with the concept of the Overton window?
No.
So, so here's the Overton window, right? And within the Overton window is everything that we are allowed to discuss as mainstream ideas, uh, period, full stop. So my
Okay.
mom, for example, being a gay black woman, her being able to marry another woman was something that existed outside of the Overton window for a very, very long time. You know
Gotcha.
what I mean?
Yep.
And then over the course of my life and prior and whatever, we kind of shifted it to the left, more conversations get had. And now look, by the time she was basically turning 50 around the time it was legally allowed for her to get married.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with me, I think about that kind of thing a lot. I think about, you can't, the way you change society and the way you change the way people think about things is to spread ideas,
Mm-hmm.
real fucking straightforward. Like, that's how you do it. There isn't a way around it. And storytelling, if I'm going to commit myself to storytelling and I want it to be something that isn't just fun for me to do, and I want it to have a bigger purpose, it's got to be about that. It has to address larger issues and things that matter to me. You know what I mean? Otherwise, and I've been paid to do a lot of freelance work and like write stories for other people, and I've enjoyed doing that and make videos or whatever for other people, and I've enjoyed that as well. But like, it's never it's not a calling. Like my soul isn't being pulled to do it when I'm doing a freelance project so much as like making The World Is No Idea, because this was my favorite rapper. So I had a lot of opinions about why he was really dope and everyone should listen to his music. So you want me to make a movie about that? Great. Like I don't have to think about it. I've been having this argument since I was 17. Let's go. With my second film, I basically channeled all of my anger about political stuff and specifically Black Lives Matter related issues into the film, because social fucking commentary is important. And at the end of the day, like that's the only weapon that I'm left with, considering that I've decided to devote myself to film as opposed to literally burning down police stations every time the cops kill an unarmed person.
Do you know who Kevin Wilmot is?
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, you know the Black Klansman, the movie The Black Klansman.
Yeah.
All right. So I believe him and Spike Lee did that together.
Okay.
And he has this movie. He's actually a professor here at the University of Kansas, right? And I think that was the first time him and Spike actually worked together. There might have been one other one, but he has this movie called CSA, Confederate States of America, right?
Oh,
And
I see that.
yeah, where it's like slavery never ended, right?
Yep. I've
And
seen
there's
that.
yeah, so
Maybe I agree with
yeah, maybe. But it's been a while since I actually watched it, but he's like that, like where likes to use his film, same as Spike Lee, right? To where you push this social commentary real heavy into it and make people like where you were talking about the Overton window, right? Or
that.
or or the box, right? Which could be the same, right? It's like
Sure.
they say, fuck the box. There is no box, right?
Hell yeah.
Fuck the window, right?
Yeah.
So I recognize that spirit in you. That's the only reason I brought it up. But yeah, you should actually look into Kevin, man. He's a real heavy dude, man, and there might be
Okay.
a synergy there. I actually don't know him personally. I've encountered him, but I do
Mm.
plan on getting him on the show. So,
Nice.
um, okay. Anyway, that was a great answer. In terms of what drives you.
Thank
Um,
you.
so how has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success?
Man, I have so many of those stories. So earlier I said something about, you asked what drives me, and I was like, I'm stubborn. Uh, I keep so I'm neurodivergent.
Okay.
When I was a kid, it manifested as a lot of like little tics and like twitches and stuff like that. They were like, oh, we think he has Tourette syndrome, but that's not what it is. And the cool part about me being neurodivergent is I've always learned very quickly. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't something that like I didn't appreciate it for what it was until later in life. But as an example, when I went to college, I didn't have to take any math courses. And the reason that is because I studied up for a couple of months and I went in there and I took my assessment test and I scored in a pre-calculus. And there just wasn't a reason for me to have to take any fucking more math beyond that.
That's dope.
And I want to be clear, I was like 27 and coming out of my party years, not
Yeah.
even coming out, still like at the tail end of, but I'm able to function and go to school and like get my shit together. But I was still partying quite a bit, and did that. And there's just been a lot of instances in my life where, I always tested high. Like I've like there was an IQ test I took once and I scored like just shy of borderline genius. And I'm not, I'm not trying to be like too cocky about it. I'm human and I'm not, fucking Einstein over here or anything, but I learn fast. So when something comes up and like being a filmmaker, for example, what I do literally requires a team of about a dozen regular motherfuckers. And instead of that, it's like with Thaddeus, for example, it's me and I trained like 4 people that were trustworthy to do specific tasks,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else was me handling shit. You know what I mean? And a lot of stuff has come up along the way of over the course of me wanting to become a filmmaker, where someone proved unreliable. So now, like with The World Is No Idea, for example, we had a booking agent who we were working with briefly for The World Is No Idea tour, and for the first leg of it, I should say. And I caught them in numerous I caught them in some bullshit, and ultimately I pulled a move where I was like, well, you can do whatever, but the movie's not playing until I see every contract in front of me, period, straightforward. And I sent that to the venue owners or the venue contacts when I thought I caught him maybe doing some shady shit. And I was right. He was literally trying to pocket thousands of dollars that he fucking didn't mention. Like once I had the contracts in front of me, it was a thing. So, but okay, great. So we've got half a tour booked. There's more shit to do. Who the fuck's going to be the tour manager and book the rest of the shit? Well, I guess I'm going to have to fucking learn how to do that now. Great. So, and then I did it. You know what I mean? Like, just like when I was in college, like they didn't teach visual effects in college. And I was like, well, how the fuck am I going to make movies in America without knowing how to do visual effects? Are you serious? So then I fucking learned, just not in school, but just like through tutorials and shit like that over time. Distribution. We got the movie done. I got the hang of booking stuff. I got the hang of booking a whole theatrical fucking world setup where the movie played on not even just played, sold out art house theaters on 3 different fucking continents. I'm proud of that shit. Yeah. So fucking, and I set all that up. And then we were working with this company called Distribber for our digital distribution. And how the setup was supposed to work is you pay Distribber, and there's a thing called an aggregate, right? Okay. So if I want to go to Hulu and say, hey, dog, I want to play The World Is No Idea on Hulu, what's good? Hulu's not going to answer my fucking email. They don't give a fuck about me. Who are you? They only enter or work with aggregates. And an aggregate is literally just some asshole with 5 movies to sell. That's it. That's all it is. So Distribber was an aggregate. And their hustle was they would charge you to middleman between you and whatever company, and then they were supposed to give you all of their money or all the money that you make off of your movie streaming on this through this company and whatnot every like 3 months. They're supposed to pay it out, and they weren't fucking doing that. They fucked over a lot of people. Yeah. It was a whole thing, of course, right? Like literally, there's like a class action lawsuit, blah blah blah, whatever. So once I determined that, you know, fuckery was afoot, I took some steps, and I had to learn how to do a bunch of new things in order to get the fucking film, in order to be able to just work directly with Amazon and not have any middleman. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, okay, so I guess the closed captions, for example, there's a company called Rev that does closed captions if you pay them a certain amount of money, but they didn't want to do the closed captions for The World Is No Idea because, like, none of them knew who the fuck Idea was. And have you heard how fast that man raps? Good luck writing closed captions for that. Yeah. So I had to learn that. And then I had to learn whatever. My point is, like, I could cite examples of this all day long. My point is, I know that I learn quickly and that I have a high IQ. Mm-hmm. And regardless of whatever else, like my emotional intelligence at times in life has been shit. I'm not like, you know, I'm far from perfect, whatever. But I learned quickly that's just a mathematical fact. So whenever something comes up and I feel knocked down or defeated or that something failed or something came up that I couldn't, whatever, I don't dwell on that very long. I immediately get, there's a thing in me that goes, fuck that, I'm smarter than this. And then I fucking focus on that. Like I like take it as an affront that something tried or that something didn't work of mine. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't dwell a lot in the feeling of the failure so much as the nope, fuck that, I'm smarter than this. And I get up and I figure out the next move.
Yeah. Powerful, man. And it seems like that's led you to adding so many different skills to your skill set, and which each time you do that makes you more valuable, you know? So they're not failures if that happens. They're only failures if you don't learn. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you just keep doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Like, again, fuck it, fine. You just keep, you know, it's not, man, something I tell my son a lot. There's this video about it's really heartwarming. I forget, like Mateos is the video maker that made it and whatnot, and it's on YouTube somewhere. It's floating around Facebook as well. But it's this whole thing about why did Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson? You know what I mean? And what happened was, not everybody knows this, but Buster Douglas's mom was in a coma leading up to the fight, and she was telling everyone like, oh, "My son's gonna be the first person to beat Mike Tyson. Watch, blah blah blah," and she fucking died, and that sucked. And like 3 days before the fight, his mom died.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So when they after he won, and they asked him what happened, like how, like how the hell, did you actually do that? And he was like, "Yo, my mom told everyone that I was going to be the first person to beat Mike Tyson, and I just decided that that's what was going to fucking happen. I just kept getting up. You know what I mean? Like, period, full stop. He just didn't stay down. And that, I don't know, man, I think that's a powerful thing, because how the fuck do you beat Mike Tyson? You know what I mean? Like, and what he said was like, yo, like I couldn't hit harder than Mike Tyson, but I could just keep getting the fuck up.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Especially that Mike Tyson. Like, that's not the old Mike Tyson. Like, that's the in his prime Mike Tyson.
He was undefeated, killing niggas in 30 seconds or less. He was like dominoes back in the day. Like, straight up.
I was a kid, man. I watched every one of those fights, man. Like, I'll never forget the Spinks fight. My dad said you could stay up until the fight's over, right? He had his little friends over and shit. The fight lasted like 40 seconds, and he's like, all right, go to bed. I'm like, God damn, man. So, yeah, I definitely get that. But no, the overall message is, and there's a quote that I shared in the group that says, the person that fell and got up is stronger than the person that never fell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I love that. Yeah. Okay, so, if you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say and why? It could be a few words or a paragraph.
Fuck. Damn, that's a good one. I mean, it can't just be an advertisement for my next film.
Of course it can be, man. I mean, it's a message, Sure.
No, damn, I don't know. That's a big one. I want to give a good answer and not have it just be something obvious, like, go see the diabolical schemes of Thaddeus Jackson comes out. Fuck. There's a quote and I can't remember it verbatim now. That's gonna drive me nuts. Yeah. Damn, dog, that is a big question.
Okay, check this out. Still on it for a minute. We'll come back to it. Because it is a big question, and I like throwing that just right in there, because it's like, what the hell? Okay. So, all right.
We'll circle back to that, yeah.
Yeah, we'll circle back. So, what is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? Could be an investment of money, time, energy.
My skills, period, full stop. I mean, in terms of like physical things, I have a few computers, but my main computer that I bought with student loan money from college, and like everybody was like, why are you buying this expensive ass computer with it? And I was like, no, this is my baby. Like, you don't understand the fucking things I'm going to do with this goddamn computer.
Yep.
But that computer is only useful because I know how to do so many things on it. You know what I mean? So I'm going to say my skills. So my mom and her mom were like my big, people that raised me. Like I didn't meet any white blood relatives of mine until I was like 34.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, and something when I say, like, when I talk about my mom, I always call her legend, and when I say mama, I'm talking about technically my grandmother, but It seems just cool to call her my grandmother because that's not the relationship we had. I was her second generation son. I'm coming to you live from the house she gave me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, gotcha.
So but mama, something she used to say all the time, she was an old black lady from Mississippi. She said, education is the only thing they can ever take away from you. Straight up. They can take everything else. They can't take away what you put in here. Real simple.
Yep.
So that's the most worthwhile investment. Every time I decided, fuck it, I'm just going to learn how to do this skill myself, it is always 100% saved me time, money, whatever later on in life. Fucking learning how to do the closed captions for The World Is No Idea meant I didn't have to do the closed captions for the diabolical schemes of, or meant, excuse me, I didn't have to pay anyone to do the closed captions for the diabolical schemes of Thaddeus Jackson. And furthermore, I'm able to do the subtitles and the translations and shit like that myself now. You know what I mean? Like it eliminates having to spend money on other people's fucking time because I can just use my own time because everything I need's up here.
Yeah. You know, I watch everything I watch. I always have closed captions on, right? It's just something because I like, sometimes there's words I don't understand or I never heard and I want to see how they're spelled. But one thing that I noticed that drives me absolutely fucking crazy is whenever it's a black show, they don't know what the hell we're saying. It is like so many times I'm like, that is not what they said. Like, you know what I'm saying? We need more diversity in that realm right there, man. Like, that drives me crazy. But that's dope, though. So you can do your own shit, and I'm not going to have to worry about that on your films, right? Like, I'm.
Only I had to catch myself because I'm writing. I was doing the closed captions for Thaddeus,
Yeah.
and there was something. You know how like when we talk, we'll chop the G off a word, and so when I'm writing dialogue for a character who does that, like, man, why are you lying? You know, I'll pop the G off when I write it, and I'm like lie in with the N, and then I put the apostrophe after the N, and that's just how I put it on paper. But when I'm writing the closed captions for Thaddeus, I know that I'm going to have to translate these into subtitles in other languages, and Google Translate isn't going to fucking know what lion apostrophe means. So, you know what I mean? So lying and whatever. It was like the only reason I mentioned it is because we're talking about closed captions, and I literally spent the last, I don't know how many fucking weeks like thinking about that and noticing it and correcting it because I kept doing it.
And you know what? Now that you say that, that does make sense. Maybe that's has something to do with it. Sometimes it's obvious, you know what I'm saying? But like, maybe that has something to do. I never really thought about it like that because I never had to do that. But I'm similar. We're very similar, bro. Like in music, I started out as a producer, right? And I taught myself because I was supposed to go to Full Sail when I was like 19, but I'm at that time I was a habitual knucklehead, and you know if we had a going away party. That's how close I was to going. Like we had a going away party. I'm leaving in the morning, and I woke up in jail. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't able to go to school, but that led me to teaching myself and saying, well, if I'm gonna be stuck here in Kansas, then I'm just gonna have to work 10 times harder, and I did. But after 10 years of my career, like I did a solo album as a rapper, right? Just because I've produced over 1,000 tracks, right? In terms of the songs that have been released, right? So I was doing a lot of work, and most of those guys were gangster rappers, and it's like I there's kind of like a monolithic theme in gangster rap. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of open minded thinking, right? So after doing all of these records, I just started to feel like, well, hell, I got something to say, right? So in the end, I wrote the album, recorded it, mixed it, did the album artwork, I mastered it. You know what I'm saying? It's like I was able to do the entire process myself, So we're really similar in that. And I agree. If somebody asked me that same question, it would be, kind of the same thing. It's just like my education. I never stopped learning. So okay, what impact do you want to leave on the world?
I want to move the Overton window to the left. It's pretty straightforward. I want I want I want less people to die because of my tax dollars. I want everyone to have health care. I want that to be a basic human right. I want education to be something that everyone can just have for fucking free because why can't my taxes pay for that instead of murdering brown people in a desert across the ocean? Like I don't fucking get, you know what I mean? That's what I would like. I want a lot of my artwork to cause people to question why we call it lobbying instead of bribery. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like billionaires uh, hire millionaires to bribe politicians to not represent me with my tax money. Why don't we call it that? Why do we call it lobbying instead? I don't understand why.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's pretty forward. I want a more open and honest society, and I want it would be cool if, as I'm on my deathbed, someone cites some movies I made that made some people say some shit that got something moved in that direction. I don't know. It's kind
yeah.
of vague. I know, like, like I wanted my mom to have the same rights as everybody else. But if you would have asked me about it back in the day, I would have said it doesn't matter if the fucking state tells her she can marry someone or not. Fuck the state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have a weird. I don't know. I want a better world, I guess, and it'd be cool if my art got some of those ideas out there and expressed. Here's a good one, and expressed the point of view of the disenfranchised, because that's kind of how I view myself.
Mhm.
Uh, to the people that aren't disenfranchised, like there's a reason why there are people who go lobbying, derp, 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 and just don't hear. They don't like have an alarm going off in their head that goes, "No, the word is bribery. You just call it that because you're a brainwashed motherfucker."
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah,
That's
I hope
one
that
thing I
answers.
always say about politics. I'm like, until you take money out of politics, I don't trust any of them. I
Yeah,
mean, in lobbying being one of my number one examples. Like, until we deal with that, nothing's gonna change. Period. Point blank. If you can buy it, I mean, it's a capitalist society. I get it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But it doesn't have to be. Um,
It really doesn't. Not an unchecked one, especially, man. It's so fucking easy to just put restraints on shit if you look outside of this fucking shitbox that we live in.
yeah.
One of my favorite college professors was this Frenchman named Hafed Boussida.
Okay.
And Hafed told me once that in Europe, in most of the fucking nations in Europe, they have laws that keep income inequality in check. So, for example, the CEO of Mercedes Benz,
Okay.
the CEO of Mercedes Benz, there's a law where Mercedes Benz is based saying that he can't give himself, or that he is not allowed to make X amount of dollars more than the lowest paid employee at
Mm,
his company. So if the CEO wants to give himself a raise, the motherfucker that cleans toilets in that bitch gets a raise too,
yeah.
because you can't trust them to just do that. History has shown it. And it fucking pisses me off, frankly, that we pretend that's not the case.
Yeah.
Like, you know, yeah.
Yeah. I agree. um, okay. So, in the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Being a dad, honestly. I ironically have a 5-year-old son. Uh, so that, I hear five as the first thing that comes to mind. Um, no, being a dad, it changed everything. It
Yeah.
changed. And he's not even my first kid. It's different because I get to raise this one. Like my oldest lives in California with his mother. I get him for periods of the summer. Blah blah blah. He literally turned 18 on the 13th, and shit. He's going to come out here for a
Okay.
longer period of this summer than he normally does. Since now he's grown, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. So that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I'm excited for that. Anyways, no, my youngest son, he's 5, and uh, he was just a game changer, dude. I was about to move. I was going to move to Phoenix at first because okay, so I was doing Son of a Crow Productions full time. I was just making freelance video and shit, and I hadn't picked my first feature yet, but I was like prepping to be able to do that.
Mhm.
And my sound girl and I were doing a lot of really good work together, making good money. And she wanted to go to this school in Phoenix where she'd finish up her degree, and then we were going to move to LA after that. So like that was our plan. We were literally apartment shopping in Phoenix, and I don't know, we were very close and had a really cool friendship slash business relationship, and whatever. But my son's mom, we're not together currently, but she and I have a long history, and we were like off and on from like 19 to, let's say, 24, and then after that, maybe once every year or two, we'd get together and roll around in bed for a summer, or
Yeah.
not, of course, of a weekend during a summer or something.
Yeah.
So like 2015, we had a fun weekend and she came up pregnant. It was like, oh, I guess I'm not moving. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck. So, no, but it changed. I mean, it changed everything because suddenly it wasn't about me anymore. And like, it was like that with my oldest son in my gut at first, but like his mom decided to take off to California and have him out there and like gave me like no say in a lot of things. So
Yeah.
it was I was young also. We were like 19. It was just a messy fucking situation. She wasn't from here. She grew up in California and got knocked up while living in Minnesota briefly and then fucking, it was a whole thing. With my youngest, it was like I can do this right if I just decide I'm going to be a devoted father. Like one thing I'll give his mom, regardless of whether like we don't work as a couple, and we knew that a long time ago, but we're very close. And one thing I give her a lot of props on is she lets me do my fucking job. She understands that like I actually am trying to prepare this boy to be an awesome man when he grows up, and you got to get the fuck out the way. Let me do that. There's things that you can't teach him that I can, and you gotta like let me do it my way. Yeah, and she really like Griffin's mom really lets me, gives me a lot of leeway. Like it's we co-parent. It's a two-way street, but like, whatever. Long story short, I feel like there were, and I can't complain. Like I didn't have like the worst childhood ever or whatever, but I feel like there were things in me that weren't nurtured the right way at all, period. And stuff that I had to unlearn a lot of so that I could learn healthy. Like I had to unlearn a lot of bad habits I picked up growing up in my family so that I could relearn a lot of good habits to do the kind of shit that I do now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with Griffin, like imagine, whatever. When I came home from the hospital, it was to this house, and like half my childhood I spent with Mama, and half my childhood I spent with the legend. When Griffin came home from the hospital, it was to this motherfucking house, and I'm watching my son like grow up in the same years and in the same space.
That's dope.
That
Yeah.
I experienced. Yeah. So are you familiar with Dr. Manhattan?
No, I
The
don't
Watchmen?
think so. No, no, no. I haven't watched it yet. No.
That's fine. There's a movie. It's based off a really really amazing book called Watchmen, and there's a character in there named Dr. Manhattan. And what makes Dr. Manhattan so unique, amongst other things, is that he experiences time simultaneously. So to him, the past, the present, the future, it already happened. You'll be in a conversation with him, and he'll be like, "Yeah, like that one time when you fucking fought Bob," and you'll be like, "What? That never happened." And then like a week later, you fought Bob, and you're like, "That son of a bitch." You remember something that hadn't happened yet, because that's. I don't know. When Griffin was coming, you know, I got the family home, and then and I'm raising him here, and I feel very centered in like what I'm doing in regards to I'm gonna make films, etc. And I have this very like my life has this very Dr. Manhattan-esque vibe to it because I'm constantly surrounded by my childhood memories, and I'm watching
I get that.
Yeah, and I'm watching my son have his childhood in the same space. So it's a fucking head trip. So all of that just to say, in the last 5 years, him coming into the world and just me being set up that way has been such a mind fuck, like in a good way. Like I think about, well, so and so did this, and I reacted that way as a kid, and I remember the details now better because I'm watching my kid fucking. So now I can literally have a moment where I decide I'm just going to deal with this differently. Like the neurodivergence thing. Like when I was a kid, they were like, oh, he's got Tourette's and blah, blah, blah. And they were trying to figure out how to deal with that. It's different for me because I know that I don't have fucking Tourette syndrome. I know that. I know that because I outgrew it. I outgrew my the motor tics I had when I was a child.
Yeah.
I know that because I read a fucking at the behest of a neurologist friend of mine. I read a study on the minds of gifted or the physical experience. How did they word it? Yeah, the physical experience of gifted and talented kids, and it explains why some people that are just wired weird and they learn, or some people that are just wired weird or whatever, sometimes have little like twitches and whatever, and it literally is all the same thing. Like like him having little motor tics is why he was doing multiplication and division at 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all the same shit.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with him. It's just this is a side effect of the fact that he's gonna grow up and be like, I can learn to do that, and he'll be right, just like his fucking dad. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
uh,
No, that's dope, man. I'm reading a book, Malcolm Gladwell book right now. I can't remember the title. I just started reading it today. But there's a story he shared about this group of immigrants from this town in Italy in the late 1800s. Like 8 of them, they came to America and they ended up in this town in Pennsylvania, right? And
yeah,
they they got jobs, whatever, and the next thing you know, like 65% of that town had came to this same town in Pennsylvania, right? And they kind of stayed to themselves. They were, they had their own community, they had their own churches, schools, whatever. That
yeah,
after a while, and there was a doctor who was visiting the area, and he was talking to another doctor, and the doctor said, these people have basically no heart disease problems before 65. And
wow,
he was like, really? Like, so he goes and does a study, and it was true, right? And so they studied diet, they studied, all the different things, things from the town they were in, and what they came up with and concluded was there was almost every house in this community had 3 generations living in it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, and they were very communal, and so my point of saying all that is that's what it made me think of, right? So this is the third generation of your family growing up in this house,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's really how it's supposed to be. So that energy, whether you call them spirits or whatever, that your family has in that house, he gets to
yeah.
take it all in. Like the ancestors are right there with them, dog. That's dope. So,
Hell
uh,
yeah. Thank you. Hell yeah. I like that. I like how you put that.
yeah, so it's just I don't know. It just that's what that made me think of, And then also in terms of your answer, like my kids, I have 3 boys, 24, 19, and 10, right? So I spread them out a little bit, but but I'm realizing I have a partner that when in my downtime I like to jump on the Xbox, play video games, right? And we'll be playing, and he has a 5-year-old daughter, and she's always in the background singing and dancing, and it's like a good little part of my day. She makes me giggle all the time. But see, and I was telling him just today, it's like, see, the world does that to us, right? Like she's 5 and she might just want to just jump up and down and go yeah 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 for the whole day, right? But a parent, or us as parents, will say, "Hey, stop, go sit down," And then
Right.
after, by the time you're like 9 or 10, you've gotten hit with all of these things, and all of that innocence kind of goes away, And now
Yeah.
we're because as parents, we gotta harden them for the world. It's a cold world. You gotta have them prepared for it. You know what I'm saying? But in doing that, we kind of kill some of that spirit. So that I just love being around that age of kid, man. Like it's just I don't know. I'll play with them kids all day long, man. So
Hell yeah.
I'm glad that you're getting to experience that, and that it's making such an effect where that's your answer. So
Thank
that's dope, man. Enjoy.
All right. While we're on the topic of parenting,
Hmm.
I think there's a parable I think that you're gonna love. You ever hear the term the softer punch?
No.
All right. So there's this show. It was on the air very briefly. It was on NBC for like one season. It's called God, the Devil, and Bob. And the premise was there's this guy Bob. He befriends God and the devil. That's the show. Whatever. So so one day Bob's dad is on his deathbed, and Bob and his dad don't get along at all. Bob's dad was
Okay.
a fucking prick. He was abusive to Bob's mom. Fucking everything that Bob does in his life is designed around my dad was an asshole. I'm gonna do the opposite of what he did, and that's gonna keep me on the straight and narrow. And he's got his life together as a result. Like he's married, he's got a few kids, he's got a good job, owns his own house, his shit's together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he goes to visit his father on his deathbed. He's there 5 minutes. They get into a fight because his dad cracks some joke about him being a pussy or something. He didn't appreciate it. So they fucking, they get into a fight and he leaves. So later that day, Bob's dad dies, and Bob's like he feels bad about what happened and how they left it. And he's like, "All right, I want to have one last conversation with my old man." And luckily for him, his friend, he's homies with God and the devil, so he can just go ask. So he goes to ask Satan, and they're looking around hell trying to find his dad, and they've looked everywhere, like every corner of hell, and he's not there. And he's like, "What the fuck? You lost my dad?" And Satan's like, "No, Bob. Like if he's not in hell, that means." And Bob's like, "No, fuck you. Are you serious right now? Fuck you. He was such an asshole. He did this, he did that, he drank, he hit me, he hit mom, he did blah, 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 blah. That motherfucker got into heaven. Are you serious right now?" So he loses it. He goes on a bender. He's drinking and driving. He's doing like all this stupid shit he would never fucking do. He ends up at this bar, and God shows up and is having a beer with him. And he's like, "What the fuck? You know, what, are you serious right now?" Like, I literally can't wrap my mind around, like, he's one of the worst people I knew, and you let that motherfucker into heaven? Or what the fuck? And God's like, "Here's the thing, Bob. Did you ever meet your grandpa?" Bob thinks about it for a minute. And he goes, "No." And he goes, "There was a mean son of a bitch. You think your dad was bad? Nah, man. Nah. See, check it out. When a man dies, and I have to look at his whole life and judge every single thing he did, one of the things that I have to weigh into account is, did he pass on a softer punch?" And Bob looks confused for a minute. He's, "Softer punch? What's that?" God's like, "Well, see, there's this punch passed down from Adam all the way to you and your kid. And it's just a way for a father to say to his son, 'Hey, man, life's hard. Got to be ready.'" And when I had to look at your father and how he lived his life, like, he passed on a softer punch. He prepared you for how hard life was, and at the same time traumatized you way fucking less than his father did to him. And look at you. You're a good dad.
Powerful.
You don't Hell yeah. You're a good dad. You don't hit your kids. You don't fucking party and drink and all the stupid ass shit he used to do, whatever. You have a successful marriage, your life's together, this, that, the other. That happened partially because of how he raised you, whether you know it or not. So literally, that's why he got into heaven.
Yeah, I love that.
Hell yeah. Bob Six is drinking. It's just so hard to stay mad at you sometimes, and God laughs and goes, "Yeah, I'm infallible. It's a thing."
No doubt. I'm kind of a big deal.
Creator of heaven and earth, you get it. I just say things and people make parables out of them because I'm God.
Okay, check this out. What advice would you give to a smart, driven kid about to enter the real world?
Find what you love. Period. Full stop. Find what you love. I say that to everyone all the time. It's like, so there's this book called Ethics of Aristotle. Mm-hmm. And there's like so many different ways to say this. There's a French philosopher who called it a God-shaped hole. There's a hole in every person, and you're going to try to fill it with something, with different things. Maybe it's party, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's sex, whatever. But eventually you're going to find the thing that fills it for you and makes you just a happier and more complete person. You got to find that thing. I forget the French philosopher's name, but he always called it a God-shaped hole, and there's like a whole fucking thing about it. My favorite description of this, though, it's a pre-Christian work. It's Ethics of Aristotle. I'm not saying that anyone should go read Ethics of Aristotle. This shit's 1,000 pages. I was a weird fucking kid, and that's why I read the shit. But one of the things I love about it, so it's a pre-Christian work, and in it, Aristotle tries to define what makes a good person a good person. And what he determines is a good person is someone who finds something they fucking love to do, and they just devote themselves fully into doing that thing. And in doing so, they're going to be happier all the time than they would be if they were doing something, spending most of their time doing something they didn't like. And they're going to make the world a better place for the species because they're going to advance that specific field in some way, shape, or form, even if it's minute. So, like, let's say Bob loves shoes. Bob loves shoes. All day long, Bob thinks about making shoes and how to make better shoes and whatever. Bob has a son named Bill. Bill doesn't give a fuck about shoes. He thinks shoes are boring as shit and whatever. And regardless of how much Bob tries to get Bill excited about shoes, Bill doesn't care. But if Bill inherits Bob's shoemaking business, which some people just don't have it in them to find their thing that they love and like devote themselves to it, it's sometimes it's easier to just inherit a family business, frankly, or to just take the job that's available or whatever. If Bill takes the easy way and just takes over his dad's business, he's never going to be as good at it as Bob was because he doesn't give a fuck about it. It's not personal to him. Whereas if Bob could find someone else who loves shoemaking the way Bob does, Bob's shoemaking business is gonna fucking last a whole generation at least,
Yeah.
until the next that guy wants to retire or whatever. But nah, man, ethics of Aristotle. Like every person that you've ever met, I feel like that was just uh miserable and spread misery a lot and was just unhappy deep down in their fucking soul. It was because they didn't have their calling. They didn't know what the fuck it was. I've had like any number of like great jobs, amazing relationships with fucking gorgeous women that made way more money than I do, and it didn't. I wasn't happy. I was always trying to figure out why, and it was because I wasn't making films. Like that's the thing for me is storytelling, and it wasn't until I was able to just really be like, no, like this isn't a hobby. This isn't like something I can whatever. This is it. I have to do this or I'm mad. You gotta. I feel like people don't. People. So many people are lost in life because they're not aware that they have to look for that thing. They don't even know that it exists. They just, you know, they're
That's a
just
great
lost.
answer. And you know, on this show, that's it's kind of why I do it like this, right? I ask the same exact questions, right? Because I'm trying to show a commonality against high achiever or for high achievers, right? And I
Yeah.
just say high achievers because it's not a monetary thing. It's exactly what you're saying. I'm talking about people that go after their passion, right? And
Yeah.
they have success in whatever many different ways. But the commonality with this question is the same thing. Do what your gut tells you to do. And
Oh yeah.
that makes, like he said, that that the ethics of Aristotle, that then in turn makes you your best self, which makes the people around you happier, which makes them kind of, in best case scenario, follow your example, and then they're doing that. I'm
Yeah.
on Clubhouse every morning. There's this beautiful family called the Gupta family, a son that's 30 and his parents, and they run this clubhouse room that's strictly about their life coaches, and all they do every morning is just let people, you know, talk, and they'll help you, like they would if they're coaching. And these are people that, like, they build houses with the Dalai Lama, and they're working with the Chelsea Football Club on like mindset apps and things. Like, these are really powerful people, but they or not powerful, but just in the world that they do a lot, and they're around a lot of powerful people going to Richard Branson's island. But every morning, man, they don't miss 7 o'clock. They'll sit there and they will serve. And one thing that they say all the time is the secret to living is giving, right? Giving authentically, right? Like, not giving with something, expecting something in return, but just giving authentically. And in the moment that you give, that the way you feel, right? That's you following your gut. Say you pass somebody on the street and you can tell he needs help, and you just give him $5, like, and you just keep it pushing. That's you living from your gut and doing what your gut tells you. And that feeling that you get inside, if all you do is give, 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 just in not I mean, obviously none of us can do that all the time. You have to put back in. But if you're
Right.
living your life like that, then you have that feeling all the time. So that's that. I don't know. I'm starting to see, that even me, I'm learning from this show, man. Uh you're my 11th guest, right? And every
Nice.
one of you dudes have pretty much, it's not all dudes, but every one of you guys have said the exact same thing. And I just hope people watching, man, like, I hope you see that. I talk about it all the time. This is dope because he's a writer, right? So, like, this is your life. This is your story. You write the chapters, right?
Hell yeah.
The last 37 chapters could have been doom and gloom, but you control the next ones. You know what I'm saying? And you can get there by just following your gut. Your gut's not going to lie to you. Your
Legit.
mind, your ego lies to you all the time. Your mind lies to you all the time. These are just electronic signals firing off in your body. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But your gut, that's the thing that recognizes the thinking. So if you think a thought,
Yeah.
who you are is the person that recognizes it's a thought. right? You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So, great answer, man. Um, so I think we've probably alluded to this already, but do you have a life's mission? Is there a mission bigger than just making movies and being a storyteller?
Push the Overton window to the left. You
Yep.
know, straightforward. My life is kind of defined by um just seeing, like I said, seeing my mom not uh having watching the state arbitrarily decide what rights my mom could and could not have over the course of her whole life is something that just gave me a different perspective on the society I live in, I think, than a lot of people that I know. And I so yeah, so a lot of the views that I have as someone, as a disenfranchised person who grew up raised by disenfranchised people. um See, it's a funny thing because mama would be like, I don't know that I'd say I'm disenfranchised. I owned a house. I paid for you to have private school when you were a kid. And I gave you a house. You went to college. You got your shit together. Why do you, and it's like, well, rights, black people dying in the street. I've got a list.
Yeah.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like, fucking, so it's not like I have like this shitty life when I talk about like disenfranchised people and stuff like that. I'm just saying, like, you know, um, there's there's so much to do.
Yeah.
There's so much work to do, and I there's so many people that aren't aware that there's so much work to do, and that's kind of what I want my work to be a lot about, is getting that out. There's so much work to do.
Yeah.
And
That's dope.
I have my son just arrived. Can I get like 2 seconds?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I know we're going a little long, but this is a really powerful conversation, man. I'm enjoying this. Thanks for sticking with
Okay,
me,
I'm
yo.
back.
Dope. All right, so we just have a couple more, bro. I have like three more questions, and then we're out of here. But we still got to do your billboard question. uh,
I
okay,
actually got to answer.
dope. So in the last 5 years, what have you
Yep.
become better at saying no to? Distractions, invitations, etc.
Man, uh, I overkilled saying no to distractions, honestly, and have had to like course correct from that recently,
Mm.
to be honest with you. I so like I was, like I was saying earlier, when I was younger, before I really committed to a career in film and everything, like partying and girl chasing is kind of like what it was all about. And uh, so um, I love you. Go on. You're good. Um, Sorry, dad stuff. Uh, Help me out. Ask me that question one more time.
Okay, in the last 5 years, what have you become better at saying no to?
Thank you very much. Yeah, everything, every kind of fucking distraction, basically. Like when I was younger, it was all about partying and girl chasing and stuff like that. And I mean, I've had like my closest friends have literally had confrontations with me recently, where not recently, but like editing Thaddeus, for example, right? That was like a 2 year process. That was literally we shot it over the course of like summer 2018 into the fall, and then I've been editing since then. And then around New Year's, I wrapped it up, and now it's won a bunch of awards and premieres on May 1st. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So over the course of those 2 years, like there's parts of that movie where there's like 7 seconds of finished footage that took me 16 hours to make because there's so much fucking CGI. It's like there's parts of the movie where it's basically evil Superman versus a fleet of aerial drones. So like that's why, you know what I mean? Like it's fucking worth it, but super time consuming. And in order to stay so focused on getting that much work done, like I had to tell a lot of people to fuck off, people that I love, honestly. Like, there's a good friend of mine, Sarah, who's going to be at the world premiere with me, who I literally had to be like, yo, stop inviting me to take vacation. Stop asking me to come out and have a drink. Stop telling me there's a fucking house party. I have shit to do. If I don't fucking make it, it's not going to get made. When the shit's done, I'm definitely going to take some time to like just do fun, normal people shit. And then you can hit me up, whatever. I'm going to say, yeah, most of the time. But right fucking now, here and now, the movie's not done. And if I just keep fucking around and twiddling my thumbs, it's gonna stay that way. So yeah, so I got really like almost angrily aggressive about it with people in my life, and but it got the movie done, you know, and the shit won a bunch of awards. So I feel like if you want to get anywhere in life, you have to be able to prioritize, and
Yeah.
sometimes the hardest part of that is prioritizing your own pleasure and like what you want to do. Because I want to hang out with my friends. I want to go get laid. I want to party. I want to travel. I want to do fun shit. But also, I want to be a filmmaker more than I want to do all of those things. Like if I'm sitting on my deathbed at this point, and yeah, if I were sitting on my deathbed right now, like if like tomorrow something happened and I'm thinking about it and I like it's lights go out 30 fucking minutes. I'm not going to be thinking like, oh man, I didn't have enough sex. Oh, I didn't smoke enough fucking weed. I didn't go to enough different places, parties or whatever the fuck. I'm going to be thinking, damn it, I didn't finish enough movies. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at in my life. I did the fun party shit, and now everything's it's about more than that. It's about more than what I want and like my own personal pleasure and enjoyment. There's so many more important things in the world than what I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how I deal with that is my art. So yeah. So
Great
no,
answer. I mean, and that's why I asked that question, because for a lot of us that's hard. That's exactly what you said. Like prioritizing the big mission over the little mission, or what the little guy says the little mission is. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So great answer, man. Okay, when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost your focus temporarily, what do you do?
uh nature. I'm big into hikes, but I do that a lot. Like I just like so I live in Minneapolis and we have over 10,000 lakes in Minnesota, and I just in the neighborhood that I live in, like not even yeah. One of the things I love about my city is there's so many beautiful like nature spots, like lakes and rivers and waterfalls and shit like that hidden throughout it, right?
Yeah.
So I can just get up from this table, walk out of my door, hang a left about a block and a half, and there's going to be a creek, and I can follow that creek all the way to where it feeds into the Mississippi River, which is like several miles away from here. And I can follow the Mississippi River all the fucking way to Texas if I want.
Yeah.
So I just take long ass walks. That's kind of always been like my go-to. Like if I feel overwhelmed or stressed out or whatever, I just go enjoy nature. And I train my kid that way too. Like he and I will take like a mile-long walk around here if the weather allows for it, at least every other day, at least. You know what I mean? So.
It's a great answer. Is you know, I love the ocean. I'm in Kansas, so you know, the ocean's far. I'm as far a fuck away from the ocean as you can be, essentially, right? But um, I just love the how small it makes me feel to be by the ocean or be in nature. You know what I'm saying? Like the there's so many. The ocean is such a big ecosystem, and it goes, and when you're looking at it, it just never stops, and you think, well, damn, there's a whole world under there. I'm over
Right.
here mad about how somebody talked to me. You know what I mean? And like there's I don't know. So I love that. That's something that I need to actually do more of.
Yeah.
So I like that. Okay, so we'll go to the billboard question before we go to the last question. So,
Sure.
if you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say and why?
Success ain't only based on self-esteem. It takes the sense to differentiate between what's yours and someone else's dreams. That's an idea lyric. I put that in Times Square.
Dope. One more time for me.
Success ain't only based on self-esteem. It takes the sense to differentiate between what's yours and someone else's dreams.
Dope. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, one of
So
my
I
favorite
think
lyrics.
that kind of leads into this next question. I'm pretty sure it does, but I'm just assuming. So,
Sure.
what's your favorite song? Or do you have a song that you consider to be the soundtrack to your life?
Oh, favorite song. I didn't hear you right. It varies, man. I'm an artist, so my taste is so eclectic. But like, um, I mean, it kind of. I can't pick one. That's damn near impossible. But I can narrow it down and say uh, "Here for You" by Idea is a big one
Mm-hmm.
because I've never heard up until that song. I'd never heard someone like say my spiritual beliefs in a sentence out loud, like from someone
Yeah.
else, like where they just nailed it, and I was like, oh my god, that's yeah, that's what it is. And there's a line in there where he goes, "I'm here for you, not for any self-centered reason, because existence is interdependent and all's related, connected as different manifestations of one single mind. You ain't isolated from the world, even though it feels like that sometimes."
Mm.
That I love that fucking song, but I'm not going to say that that's my favorite song because sometimes that's the one, and then sometimes what was the other one? It's another uh Idea song. "Make Money and Die." How much do you pay? That's the title. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
big, big extreme differences, but like, how much do you pay? That's the title of the song, and it's basically just about how money's bullshit, and you should
Mm.
just accept that it's bullshit and be mildly frustrated that you were forced to deal with the bullshit that is the concept of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's one of those songs. It's one of those two.
Dope. Great answer, man. So Brandon, man, this has been awesome. We talked a long time. We got a lot of powerful shit out, man. I asked
Thanks, bro.
my questions, but I know you have a film coming out and you have things that you might want to promote. So I'm gonna leave the floor to you. If there's anything that you would like to add, or if so the floor is yours, sir.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on the show. If you or anyone else watching hasn't already seen The World Is No Idea, or even has but don't own a copy of it, you can go get that on DVD, Vimeo, or Amazon Video.
Okay.
I got a new movie coming out. It's pretty dope. It's called The Diabolical Schemes of Thaddeus Jackson. The premise is what if most of the things that caused the Black Lives Matter rally you could tie to one specific superhero, and someone was
Mm,
obsessed with that motherfucker because he heat visions kids with toy guns and shit like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's a pretty good film. Yeah, it's a big social commentary. I pretty much channeled a lot of my outrage into it, and like apparently that's working out pretty well.
yeah.
A lot of people feel the same way about it. I guess like with the documentary, it was interesting because a lot of people like I was marketing it to Idea fans because if you didn't know who Idea was, you didn't care about a documentary about his life. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So a lot of film festivals with the doc were like, whatever. Like we had like four festival selections, and then no, three festival selections, one award with
okay.
the doc. With this next movie, no one's heard of it, but the fucking film geeks are loving it because it's a good movie and because the commentary is so strong. And like I'm saying something that a lot of people agree with throughout the entirety of the film. So it's already won. It's already won two awards, and I think like 6, 7 official selections, some ridiculous shit like that.
Dope.
Like it really feel like I'm announcing a new laurel. The world premiere is going to be May 1st in Green Bay, Wisconsin, at the MLC Awards, where we have already won best adventure fantasy VFX film. Uh, and oh, it's gonna also play. It's gonna play online. That's more, for people watching. You're gonna want to watch it online. You can watch it for $1 on May 7th at the kickoff of the Another Hole in the Head presents Warp Dimensions Film Festival. That's a festival based out of San Francisco.
Okay, dope. When that happens, that's because that's like next weekend, right?
Yep.
Or next Monday or something like that. Make sure you send me a link for that, and I will share that shit because I've been we're Facebook friends, so I've been watching you. Go through all of this whole time. It's been very intriguing to me. I can't wait to see the film. You know what I'm saying? So dope, man. Make sure you share that with me, bro.
Oh yeah, I will.
So, Brandon, thank you for your time, man. You're a really dope person, man. And, I'm kind of on this Nori shit, man, where I'm trying to give people their flowers, while I can, bro. And when I recognize somebody, who's doing exceptional things, it's like it's become a thing for me to let them know. I've lost a lot of friends recently, and I don't always get that chance. And being a high achieving person, myself, I know that we don't do it for any type of recognition or anything like that. Like there's something else burning deeper, right? You have a purpose, I have a purpose, but it still feels good to hear it, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, man, you're fucking awesome, man. You're rocking it. You know, I wish you nothing but success. You know what I mean? Thank you, bro. And tell Griffin I said what's up.
All right, I will.
All right, man. So you have a great evening, bro. Thank you.
Well, thank
All
you. Thanks
right.
for having me on. Appreciate
No
it.
doubt.
All right.